Duty beyond the regiment, serving the veteran community. You're tuned in to Once a Warrior, Life Beyond the Uniform. Today we feature Frank McCracken, Irish Guards and Royal Irish Regiment veteran and currently Secretary of the Irish Guards Association NI. With decades of dedication to the veteran community, Frank is the quiet engine behind annual events, regimental support and charity outreach. His work ensures that the brotherhood of service doesn't end at discharge. It evolves into a lifelong network of care. Welcome to another edition of Once a Warrior, Life Beyond the Uniform. Delighted today to be joined by Frank McCracken, who served with the Irish Guards and then with the Royal Irish Regiment, and who is actively involved in the associations, and really looking forward today to hearing Frank's journey. So Frank, absolutely delighted that you've joined me today.
Thank you, David. Good to be here.
Welcome to the podcast.
Cheers.
You've made it to the illustrious guest of our Once a Warrior podcast.
Yeah, looking forward to it, I think.
No, it'd be grand. I'm definitely looking forward to unpacking it. I suppose I normally start out of the gate about school life, but I suppose let's get out the fact that obviously your Irish Guards was your main. My uncle, who's the same name as me, David Johnson, from Belfast here. He was 16 years Irish Guards, served in Aden, and he finished at W02. My memory serves me right here. You can correct me. Is it Bird Cage Walk? Is that what?
That's correct. That's London. That would be Wellington Barracks.
Okay, is that like your regimental headquarters or something like that? Or
regimental headquarters would work from there, and that's where all the household division regiments would have their regimental headquarters.
Okay. So I know he finished up there, yeah, I used to get some stories from him, and a little bit about his service. Yeah, that was a good place to start. We've got a bit of a connection with the Irish Guard. So, well, look, early life. Take it you're obviously NI born and bred, I assume.
Yep, grew up in Finnicky, South Belfast. Went to Finnicky Primary School, then went on to Murray High School. I got through school okay. I probably could have done better. I think that's what it said in most of my school reports. Worked well under constant supervision, all that sort of thing. But on reflection, if I had to revisit to go back to school, I would have been able to maybe apply myself in a different way. And I think through gaining life skills through the military, it gives you that sort of attitude to do more and do better. So if I was to revisit school, I think I would have done it slightly different.
Yeah. Okay. So for all the youngsters listening to this, apply yourself at school.
Yeah, do well at it, and grasp every opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you remember sort of what age you were when you first thought, "Wow, I'm fascinated by the military. It's possibly a career"?
Yeah, well, the Murray High School had a Army Cadet Force detachment. We were the Murray detachment, and it was run by a Mr. Moore, who was the woodwork teacher at the time. And we had got away to places like Ballymena, Ballykinler, Larne. There was a cadet centre down there at the time. And that sort of gave you an insight. And of course, when I left school, I left the cadets. So anything military related kind of was shelved. I got a job within a week, working in Crichton's garage in Finnicky, selling car parts. And there was two people in there who were a really good influence to me. And one was basically a raker, and I was picking up all the raking sort of qualities. And the other one was trying to educate me and saying, look, you can't be doing this for the rest of your life. This is not going anywhere. You need to decide what you're going to do. And that would have led to part of the reason for joining the army. So there wasn't really much prospect qualifications wise. I didn't have great qualifications. And then my brother and I decided to have a little bit of a jolly on a car that had no tax, insurance, MOT, all that sort of stuff. And we happened to get stopped by a traffic branch of all people, close by Mary Peters track. And we got flagged over. And I'm really panicking at this stage. I'm thinking, I'm going to jail. So my mum got a visit from this guy. And he walked into the house and he seen the picture on the wall. And it was my brother, who at the time was in the Royal Navy. He was on the submarines, and he's coming 62 this month, and he's still in the Royal Navy, but not on the submarines anymore.
Okay.
And the guy turned around and says, the police officer says, I was in the Royal Navy. I used to be on the submarines. And he had a chat with my mum. He says, I'm going to call your son here from work. Going to have a chat with him. I'm going to let him off, but he's going to get a stern caution. Please do not let on to him. Well, I came into the house in a flood of tears, crying my eyes out because I thought, I'm going to court.
You're in trouble here.
And that was a lesson I learnt very swiftly. But thanks to this guy, his parting words going out of the house, there's nothing here, son. Get yourself out of Northern Ireland and go and join the army or the navy or something. So then took a look at what I could do. Initially, the Irish Guards was not my first choice, but then talking to my uncle, who was Irish Guards, I would have been Ken Lewis Military Medal. Ken says that's the only choice you're going to make, the Irish Guards.
I was going to ask that. So you had an uncle.
Yeah.
That was it. Anyone else in your sort of immediate family or?
Not really, no.
Right.
No.
So just so your uncle had a big influence then on you.
Very much so. I know he was awarded the military medal for conflict in Aden, but something that was never really talked about in any family get-togethers or anything like that. But I do remember Ken being a very tall, influential-looking character, and he was someone to look up to, very much so. So that kind of guided me towards the Irish Guards. And 2 days after my 18th birthday, off I went to the University of Purbright.
Very good, very good. And was it what you were expecting? Was it a complete culture shock, that sort of recruit training?
Total culture shock, absolutely. The first day, there was a bus that lifted us at Brookwood train station, and there's a guy stood there with a billboard, dressed immaculately in his number 2 dress, and I says, Frank McCracken, now you will now be known as McCracken from here on in, recruit McCracken. I says, right, okay, and you can call me Corporal. Right. Dead on. So get on the bus and straight down, collected our uniforms, and it was about half a mile hike with all this stuff out of the clothing store to go back, to put it into the locker, to press it, and then turn ourselves out on parade the next day. Got the head shaved, but close to what it is now. There's not much growth up there, but I mean, it was like something out of, I don't know, concentration camp. The head was just, hair was whacked off me, but that's just the way it was to be.
And in terms of the culture shock of, I suppose, just a different environment, but did you find you were still relatively young? What was it like with a bunch of strangers starting to go through that whole environment of
yeah, I mean,
the
you're
tests,
talking
etc.?
Sharing rooms and billets with guys from all over England. There was different regiments from the Household Division. I remember ringing my mum, telling her that I had to buy a steam iron, and I said, I don't know how to work this thing, you know. And there was also guys from the Republic of Ireland, and to this day, those friendships are everlasting. And I just thought I'd never really met anybody from down south before, and it was great. It was a fantastic experience. Tough, really tough at times, but that experience there is one of the things that will stick with me for the rest of my days, for the whole time I went through the basic training.
It's interesting you mentioned those from the Republic of Ireland, because there obviously is a stigma, wrong perceptions about maybe the British Army in general, or particularly the Irish regiments. And in fact, the reality is, be it Irish Guards, be it the Royal Irish, there's a significant amount of soldiers from down south, from different religion. Then maybe the majority, and people outside don't get that. But the reality is, there's always been a long history of various Irish regiments, and religion doesn't play a part once you're in uniform.
And if you take it even at the point of growing up, you know, you only knew your own community. You didn't really sway too far, because back then it wasn't the thing to do, and you're not going to put yourself in a situation that you walk into the wrong area or something like that. So to meet someone from, let's say, a different country, if you like, and all of a sudden these guys are your friends, good friends, was a brilliant experience. And to this day, even through their association and both branches, relationships are fantastic.
Massive, yeah. It's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about this role as the commissioner, as I've been down to Dublin numerous times, meeting some of the the RBL down there, RAF, all the different associations, and thankfully there's a real attempt to recognise those from the Republic of Ireland who did serve with the British Army. And again, fascinating. I was in Iraq in 2004. and the big memorial down at Shaiba, and phenomenal just standing there and seeing Connaught Rangers and the different Irish regiments,
Yeah.
you know, for the First World War, and just recognising that the amount of troops, you know, from Ireland, north and south, that obviously fought for the British Army
Yeah.
and died all over the world
Yeah.
in different conflicts. People tend to see a real narrow of recent 30, 40, 50 years, and somehow airbrush or ignore
Mhm.
literally hundreds of years of people from this island fighting side by side
Yeah.
in various conflicts.
And it is great, and long may that continue.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
No,
very
no,
important.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So, okay, so through training, passed out.
Yep. I'm a stickler for dates. Passed out on the 4th of August, which would have been, I think, 37 years yesterday.
I was about to say we're
Yeah.
today's the 5th, so
Had
37 years. Okay.
9 days off. I went to the battalion, dropped our kid off the back of the Bedford, and the most memorable guy when you first come to the battalion was a guy called Eugene Cullen, and he was from Enniskillen originally. So he gave us a tour of barracks, marched around the place, showing all the different departments, medical centre, this is a church, you know, this is your company block, this is Sergeant's Mess. Some of you may find it someday. And that was Eugene's job. He worked in the training wing. And again, he later joined the association, and he's sadly no longer with us. But these are the people that you remember, you know. And we were then allocated to our companies. I was posted into number one company. And for a short period, we were doing ceremonial duties before the build-up training to go on our first tour to Belize, which was in Central America in October 1988 for 6 months.
Oh, okay. That must have been a bit of experience.
Oh,
A Belfast boy out in Belize.
I didn't like the jungle one bit. It just wasn't for me. But we had great times out there. We were in Red Eye Camp down in the south of the country, and a lot of jungle patrols, all that sort of thing. But yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah. And that was how you joined 88. We should you.
Yep.
Okay. And then right through, and then what? Any operational tours in after that?
Yeah, so we came back from Belize in May 89. We're on our leave, and then we're building up to go to Berlin. That was at the end of the Cold War, the 9th of November 89, the wall came down, and I arrived on the 9th of January 1990, just as the wall was coming down. So a real different time. There was no operational sort of duties as such, because only the border patrols around the wall and stuff had been stopped, for there was effectively no wall anymore. So a lot of the time would have been a lot of fatigues, a lot of training, and an opportunity to do career courses. I was signals platoon at that point, and I went and done Standard 1 and then my Regimental Signals Detachment Commander's course, which I passed. And then we're in Berlin for 2 years, done various training. We've done a Medman out in Canada, Medman 4. And then we come back to Pirbright, and from there we were building up for the first operational tour that the Irish Guards had undertaken, which was to take over the Fermanagh Enrolment Battalion in Enniskillen. Oh, well,
That's
worked
right,
from
actually, yeah.
Enniskillen. That was 1982. That was November 92.
Actually slipped my mind. Actually, the Irish Guards were here. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And were you were on that, so you served here?
I was on that tour. So we actually had a company of Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. It was Barrios company, it was called then. So I was part of their signals detachment. And we had the battalion headquarters downstairs in Grosvenor Barracks, at the Echelon in St Angelo, and then all the border posts right the whole way around from Bleak right round the Rosslea, and the police stations as well. The first evening, really, I think it was a Saturday evening, we took over responsibility for the Fermanagh Enrolment Battalion, and it was a Saturday night, and I just nipped round to the ops room to, I don't know, get a cup of tea or something like that, and one of the guys wanted to go round to the Blackthorn Club to get a pack of sandwiches, and then a contact report came through, and sadly, in Bilcoo Main Street, a police officer had been shot and killed, murdered, and because I was the person manning the desk, we had to deal with the contact. The multiple commander at the time, the signals in Belcoo were that poor that he had to effectively sprint half a mile out of the village to gain comms to send a contact report. And behind our office, we had the Rucklow, which is Royal Ulster Constabulary Liaison Officer. At that same time as that message came through, he had received a phone call that there was an officer down. and they brought the police car out, and one of the Fusiliers nursed the officer all the way to the Aaron Hospital, but he wasn't to recover.
What was that like, being from Belfast? Understand a bit about the troubles as you're growing up away. Now you find yourself in uniform in Northern Ireland dealing with the conflict.
Reality kicked in straight away, and I know we've done all this through all the training scenarios down in Stanton and Thetford, the build-up training for it, and you did not think for 1 second that on your first evening that you're taking over responsibility, that something so vicious was going to happen. And it was a wake-up call to everybody, because everyone was listening on that all-informed net as to what was happening. The ARF was deployed, the police at checkpoints, there was lots of follow-up searches, there were a couple of arrests, and unfortunately Reserve Constable Alan Corbett was the officer that lost his life. So yeah, it's quite horrific.
Yeah, I know a couple of ex-Irish officers that would have known him. Yeah, so the rest of that tour then, any other major sort of incidents, any other?
Yeah, there was a multi-weapon shoot on Mullen Bridge. That happened in the daytime. And I think the likes of Annick Martin, Rosslea, Killyvilly maybe got a couple of attacks. But generally the tour, that first initial sort of episode, the tour went ahead okay, and everyone came back in one piece from the battalion. And it was a very busy time. It was really busy. And, the tour was successful. And then that was the build up for another operational tour that the battalion took on in 1994. But I was or 95, I was gone at that stage.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, things certainly in the early 90s were still pretty hot in parts, no doubt. In terms of now looking back on the whole discussion around legacy issues and 98 and the peace process, and now what appears to be very much a targeting of British soldiers and very much a demonisation, that almost they were to blame for the whole troubles. Any sense, or how does that make you feel, and that you came and you served and no doubt professional, and
Yeah,
does it annoy you? Is it frustrating, or do you just kind of accept this the
no
current
matter
landscape?
what army or regiment, I see nothing but total professionalism and impartiality. Impartiality is a big, big word, especially when it comes to deploying in Northern Ireland, because you're there between two communities and you're doing your very best to help both communities, and it's nothing but a display of professionalism. And even when the chips are down, I mean, the likes of what happened that night, those young Fusiliers having to deal with that, um, it must be really difficult. I've never really got talking to any of them regards what happened that night or how it's affected them. But at the end of the day, everyone was doing their best for the whole community, and that has to be remembered and respected. And sadly, history's trying to be rewritten, and it's
Yeah,
wrong.
I was going to ask you that specifically. So there's no doubt history has been rewritten,
Yeah,
and one of the things, the narrative that's being created, is that actually it wasn't state forces, the British Army primarily in between two communities. There is a narrative put out there that it was the British Army on one side of the community collectively against the other side. But what you're saying categorically is that was not the mentality. It was not
yeah,
the case. It was definitely peacekeeping between communities.
yeah. And a lot of the feedback, I mean, again, you're talking about serving with guys from the Republic. These guys were on the ground in Fermanagh, and the locals were actually engaging with a soldier from Dublin, and they were so respectful. I thought, fair play to you, son, for joining the Irish Guards, and the made great memories for people, and that you can't take away. You'll never be able to take that away. That was very important. So relationships were good, and there's a lot of community stuff done throughout that tour that I might not have been involved in, but I know it did happen, and relationships were quite strong.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons, Frank, we do this podcast,
Yeah,
because it is so important that younger generations, next generations understand, out of the out of experiences of soldiers like yourself, what it meant, what your motivations were. You've mentioned professionalism. I talk about heroic restraint. in many cases. It doesn't mean there weren't some mistakes made.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that across 300 odd soldiers, some made bad decisions in certain circumstances, but you cannot tar the whole of the British Army that served
No
here in
chance.
Northern Ireland just because there maybe was some mistakes made.
Yeah.
The vast majority served with integrity, in my book, professionalism and restraint, and I imagine you'd think something similar.
100% all day long. You couldn't do it any other way.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's first and foremost.
Okay, so then you then, when did you then leave the Irish Guards, or what came about that you decided?
Yep. So 92, our tour finished in 93, and we resumed with public duties. And I kind of sort of got to see the way how the home service were dealing with how they were integrating into the community. So they were doing their shift going home, and I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to transfer, and I transferred my service uh, in January 95. But prior to that, I went on a tour with the Scots Guards to Dungannon, where I was attached to them, worked in the main ops room in Killymeal House in Dungannon. So that was like a waiting period on that operational tour, and then to transfer after my month's leave into 4 Royal Irish in Omagh was the battalion headquarters on the 9th of January 1995. And having done the 6 months with the Scots Guards, that was a tough enough tour. But yeah, so new page turned, and
Yeah, was that in St. Lucia, or where were you based?
St. Lucia Barracks, yeah. And then if we were deploying operationally, we then took over what was about the end was the Fermanagh Enrolment Battalion. So that then became our AOR from like right round the Rosslea. So it was like, I've done that footprint before, so I knew the area very well.
Okay, and what rank were you at the stage then when you transferred across?
Lance Corporal when I transferred, and then I'd done my section commanders, I think in 97, 98, I got my corporal, and then a couple of years later, done my platoon sergeants and got my sergeant.
Okay, very good. So then right through from then up to about, what, 2007 or so, you were just
Yeah,
in
so
the Home Service Battalion?
came back from leave on the 1st of July 2005, and there was an announcement, and all the sergeants and officers were called into the officers' mess. And I thought, right, well, we've got a new commanding officer coming today, so Lieutenant Colonel Nick Nottingham, he's coming to introduce himself. He walked in, he took his headdress off, he says, "Gentlemen, Operation Banner will cease on the 31st of July 2007. Put his headdress back on and walked straight back out.
Seriously, that was it?
And that was it. We were in total disarray. Like, he had literally just been told. He had been called up to 38 or HQNI as it was then. And right, get to your battalions and pass the word. As soon as that announcement had been made, it went out on the news at 12 o'clock. And my platoon was on guard that day. My phone was going red hot. What do we do? And I didn't know what to tell people.
Nobody knew.
So we're in this sort of period of disbandment. We're getting 2 years' notice. And we're thinking, well, okay, not many employers give you 2 years' notice. So we were really trying to get the best possible deal for everyone going back into Civvy Street, which is a lot of people. Yeah. And then people who want to get on with career courses, should have been tiling, woodworking, whatever it was. And we're still up to a point maintaining the operational role. So it was an interesting time. We still had to do public order training. We still had to do our outstations. I still had to do our training. And then between all that, we're like, at some point, we're going to have to plan for the future here, because that's the important stuff. Yeah. So we had our final parade in St. Lucia Barracks for the battalion. And then there was the final parade on the 6th of October 2006 in Balmore Showgrounds. And
I was there.
Yep.
I remember being there in the stands.
Yeah, so I was escort for the colours for Royal Irish. And you talk about moments that you remember. I remember my basic training and my pass out parade, but I also remember marching off the Balmore Showgrounds. That particular day rained constantly, and we then had to go and get a photograph with Her Majesty the Queen, and that was in the paddock. And for that particular period, when Her Majesty stepped out, the rain stopped. We got the photograph, and then went back inside and joined our families. But that's a
It was a fitting day in the sense that the monarch was able to come.
Yeah.
my father actually has a photograph of him, myself with the regimental tie on, my brother Ian, who served in the 1st Battalion, then went to Army Reserve. He went to Iraq in 03, I was there in 04. And then Dad's got a picture of us there that day, and he's got it framed on his wall.
Yeah.
Actually, of that day, such a, I would say, historic day in many ways, in the regimental history.
It was, and I know it went out live on BBC that day, and I have sort of watched it through the archives and stuff because I didn't get to see it until I
And were you checking if you were in step okay as the ensign, the colour?
Some people would say I was the only one in step, you know, but
all your relatives said that, didn't they?
you know, but
yeah, I actually carried the 4th Battalion colours in, was it 93 was the first time the colours were on parade in Ballymena after the amalgamation. Was it 92? Was like, I'm
yes,
sometimes
1st of July 92, wasn't it?
So then there's a parade in Ballymena, and it was only time sort of all nine colours were on parade. Yeah, I sort of entered the colour on that. So it was Prince Andrew was over for that one, but certainly an experience carrying the colours.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of build up training for that, and I was mostly done up in Ballymena because that sort of ground up there could facilitate such a rehearsal. And we were up there quite often, and I don't think the parade could have went any better given the conditions. The weather was horrendous, and everyone was up for this parade, albeit it's the final parade. But yeah, that's one of them things you remember. Another sort of duty that I was part of, and as another sort of sad occasion, was Captain David Patton, who was a Specialist Reconnaissance Regiment. He was killed in Afghanistan in July 2006. So part of the task went to us to provide a guard of honour and the firing party for that funeral. And we had to get the guys together pretty quickly and do a lot of rehearsals. That was held in Port Stewart, and then he was buried in Downhill. And a memorable occasion, I didn't know the guy. I later got to meet his brother. And yeah, there's just occasions like that and events that sort of come into your mind when you're talking about things like this. But yeah, that was a pretty somber day as well.
Compared to how the Americans would do that, I sometimes wonder, while it's fitting, the Americans seem to have it another level of how they sort of say goodbye to their fallen.
Yeah, I mean, everything that the British Army does is taken out of the Army drill pamphlet, and that's a procedure that's used throughout. And it was very well conducted. And I suppose it didn't matter who the individual was at the end of the day. Everyone's getting exactly the same, and it was special. Yeah.
I'm always reminded of the Chris Kyle, funeral in America, and the journey he went on, and just the troopers, the fire brigades, the whole lining of the streets and all of that. It's not in our culture to do that, but it can be quite fitting when you see, and Canada's something similar, but all cultures a little bit different. But I suppose in Afghanistan you had the village near Bryce Norton that would have paid respect going through. Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's about paying respect to those that have fallen, particularly in service.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's another one of those events that total professionalism again, was shown right through.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so when did you kind of leave then?
So my last day, well, effectively that final parade in Balmoral, I could honestly say was my last day in uniform.
Right.
Started my resettlement training because I've been busy looking after everybody else and making sure they were okay. So I had to make time for myself, and occasionally come in just to visit now and again. But that was me up until 30th of June 2007, and that was the end of my service. Joined the reserves for a little bit, 40 signals.
I was going to ask you about that. So
Yeah.
you did go into but before we come on to the reserves, actually, just so 88 joined or passed out.
Yeah.
88, and then Lucia Barry. So this is actually uncanny. Obviously, I had no idea of your dates. So I joined what was then the 4th Battalion, Territorial Army, 1988, in St. Lucia Barracks.
Right.
My last day in uniform was 2007.
There you go.
That is uncanny.
Yeah.
So there we are. So then, I was going to ask you then, so You went into the reserves for a short period.
Yeah, probably done about a year and a half or so.
Why did you not go into the two Royal Irish? Obviously, being a home serve, because a lot of your guys came across. I was company commander in C Company at the time in 06, 07. And we had I used to go around and do presentations to the home service battalions, and we brought over some really good guys in the two Royal
It's a
Irish.
good question. I think more because of my signals background, I had a bit more to offer.
I was
46.
true too, yeah. Okay.
Because I was able to sort of get my hands back on all the equipment, and then that transition period of going into the Bowman, which I didn't really get hands on with. I would need a lot more time to get more knowledge of that system.
And
But
was it just not sort of for you, that kind of reserve culture?
I was sort of done my bit at that stage. I think.
You just felt right of, yeah. But it is important though, because as a means of keeping your experience and your service, that practical guidance you can give to particularly young reservists coming through,
Yeah.
it's invaluable. But ultimately there comes a point that you have to want to do it.
Yeah, and we've done some very successful adventure training events, which was fundraising as well. We've done the four tallest peaks in the UK, and raised a lot of money for Help for Heroes. So it got everyone motivated, and it was a brilliant weekend. Finished in Fort William and come back the next day, and all good fun.
Okay, well, that actually leads in nicely to the next part I wanted to go through, because one of the main reasons for this podcast is yes, to talk about service and make sure that that is captured, but also it's about life beyond the uniform.
Yep.
I.e., different people have different experiences, different journeys, different challenges, but while we always need to make sure that the organization, as I call it, is there to support those that need support, be it health, be it education, be it employment, be it housing, whatever it is, sometimes gets overlooked that the vast majority of veterans leave service and don't really need help. They move on with their life, positive contribution to society. Some choose to sort of cut ties and just start a new life. Others then stay involved in charity work or associations. So you've chosen the latter. To speak to some of your work within the charities in that sector.
Yep. So I took over, or became the secretary for the Ulster Branch Irish Guards Association back in, I think, 2011, 2012. So that's near 13, 14 years. And the key sort of responsibility would be organising events. Now, I'm not saying I do it on my own, because I couldn't do it on my own. But we've got a good committee there. And we all effectively muck in and get it done. We've had some brilliant events. The last couple of years, I sort of took the notion, let's do a wee bit of fundraising. Now, there has been other fundraising events down the line. And that would have been the chairman at the time, Major Bert Smith, MBE. Bert sort of was dealing with cancer at the time. He still is. And he thought, to get himself back on the road and show positivity, he decided to walk from Dublin to Belfast over the period of a week. I think he raised something like £26,000. So in the background, I was kind of helping with all that. And there's other stuff, I mean, the likes of what Brian Phillips has done. Where possible, I've tried to help in the background, getting Brian through all the various stuff he's done, and he's done some amazing stuff. And the guy is a total inspiration. That is one person that I would inspire off, is Brian. He's amazing, absolutely amazing. So the last couple of years, run a couple of charity golf days at my club at Edenmore, and so far I've raised £20,000. We've contributed to the Irish Guards charity, Blesma, who did we have last year, and the Allen Veteran Support. And this year we're going for the Irish Guards charity, the Air Ambulance, and the Army Benevolent Fund. So that's taking place on the 5th of September at Edenmore Golf Club. There's still spaces if you want to tag along.
Don't I know? Alan in the office has volunteered, him and myself, to be part of a four-ball that day. So you should have the booking in there from us. So Edenmore, we both live sort of near Edenmore. So
Yep.
I went to the gym there for donkey's years until it closed in COVID. My kids went to Marlin Village Primary School.
All right.
So yeah, I know Edenmore well. Never played the golf course there. Not massive into golf, but I'll certainly carry a bag around 18 holes and try and
You'll
try and
enjoy
hit
it.
the
Don't
right
worry,
ball.
there'll be somebody on hand to chase you around. So
Aye. No, I'd imagine. So I'm hoping Alan's half decent, otherwise it could be a slow round. We're thinking of just playing two of us. They'll probably be about the same time as we'll take a decent four ball going through, but
um,
we'll see, you know.
yeah,
So what about the accusation that golf is a good walk spoiled?
it is sometimes, and I have to agree with that. But then when you're playing well and you're having a great round, it's like happy days. You just
I've
wonder
never
why.
had that experience, so I
Yeah,
don't know what that looks
it
like.
happens now and again for me, and you just wonder why you can't go out and do it again the next day. You know. But it certainly does bring a lot of people together. It's one of those events. Um, so my golfing event is coinciding with what the Irish Guards are laying on in September,
Yeah.
and the
Because
ultimate
you've
event.
got some big events coming up in
Yes.
September, so
So if I talk about them briefly, the 4th of September, which is a Thursday down in Carrickfergus, they're parading through Carrickfergus, round towards the castle. That's between 4 and 5 p.m. And then the Friday morning, they're at the Cenotaph in Belfast. And Friday evening, they're coming up to play the beating of the retreat at Edenmore. And really looking forward to that. It's one of them things that I don't think I'll ever be able to do again.
well, being local as well must
Yeah.
be an extra experience for you, like
Oh,
if it all
it's
works
great
out.
because the members of the club are all talking about it, and they're
Aye.
really excited.
A beautiful setting.
Yep.
On the way the buildings on the hill there. It's gonna
Yeah.
be nice.
And then the Saturday, the cadets are involved with the band in Bangor. We have our annual dinner, and then the Sunday is the main event of the laying up of the colours at St Mark's Church in Dundela.
Which I plan to attend, so
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that.
So that will be a huge event, and to have your colours laid up in Belfast is extra special. So everyone is keen to attend that, and there's going to be a lot of people on the streets watching that parade come by.
I would say
200
so.
soldiers with
Without a shadow of a
band.
doubt. Yeah. And a lot of the organisation of that then falls on you as part of the secretary of the association,
Well, not so much the laying up
because that's also
of the colours, but
that's
more
going to
the
be
likes of the
their
golf day and the dinner
yeah.
and whatever else has been asked to get involved in. But I can sort of happily sit down on the Saturday evening at dinner and relax a wee bit, because the next day all I have to do is turn up and follow the guy in front of me.
No, and it's those type of events that to the outsider don't seem significant, but if you've served and you're part of the regimental family, and then you connect with the public, and the public come out to support, there's just something special about that.
Yeah.
I observed, I wasn't walking, but I was there the day that the Irish Regiment did the homecoming in front of the City Hall.
Yes.
And that was just, you
Yeah.
suppose, given the troubles and everything, it was just unbelievable
Yeah.
to have, so the march past and the thousands of people. It's like something you see in a film going off the Second World War or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've no doubt that event's going to draw a big crowd.
I think 240 marching troops going down the Belmont Road and the Hollywood Road in Belfast is extra special.
No, I agree. It's going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be epic. So no, look forward to that. So fully involved then in associations, fully involved in some charity work. Main business, you employed business. What do you do?
Yeah, self-employed, so I've got my own business, oil and gas heating, servicing, installs, breakdowns.
How long after service did you move into that?
I was kind of doing it before, and I was building myself up gradually, and it kind of took. It doesn't work straight away to build up a client base. It just doesn't. So I just kept chipping away at it, and then I sort of got it to the stage where I wanted it to be. And yes, I'm busy, and no doubt my phone's been ringing while it's been sitting on that
I
table.
can imagine. In fact, you've just jogged my memory. We talked about a mutual friend, Andrew Dublin,
Yes.
there earlier, and it was in that connection that he reached out to me, and now that I remember,
Yep. So
to do with the servicing. That's right.
BNI, which is business networking, and Andrew would be the director. Very influential. Andrew, I get on very well with, and he is very good. He is very good at what he does, and he does keep us all right. And I'm glad I joined that, because it's an important part if anyone wants to get involved with pushing their business. It's a referral system.
Yes.
And for anyone that wants to go down that route, it's worth visiting. Even if you want to come as a visitor, there's no commitment.
No,
See
he
what it's
certainly, the reason he reached out to me was I had happened to say in a conversation about a buy-to-let property, and then he wrote back and goes, if you need, then I've got the man for you, Frank McCracken, and he mentioned your, so I'm
Yeah.
going like, Yeah, I know, sure, I know Frank from,
Uh,
and obviously we first connected with Captain John Goff.
that's right.
Just explain who Captain John Goff is.
So Captain John Goff, it's believed, is the last Irish Guards officer who, from the World War II era, and an absolute lovely gentleman to be in the company of. How this came about was a neighbour of theirs, a man called Mervyn Ferris, sent an email into 38 Brigade to say this man's turning 100 years of age in April, and could the army get involved? So that got passed on to me, and then we got in touch with the regiment. Went down and met the family, his wife Eleanor, lovely lady, and we sort of come up with an idea. Now, the 21st of April was his birthday, which was Easter Monday, and he was spending it with family. So the Saturday, the 26th, we had the Irish Guards, dog and handler, a few guys in home service, the frontier pipes and drums under the direction of Ricky McGaffin, never lets us down, and family and friends. So Eleanor was saying, Frank, I might have upwards of 100 friends. That's okay. It's your party. And we got them all in place, and that was a fantastic event. And we presented Captain Goff with an Irish Guards Wolfhound silver statue, which he would not let out of his hands that day.
Yeah, no, I can
And
imagine. That was the first day I think I ever met
yep,
you personally.
that's right.
'Cause the office presented him it was a picture frame of the 7 iterations of the poppy,
That's right.
back to the first cotton poppy, and I think it
Uh-huh.
was 1922 or something. And absolutely phenomenal to think that he's lived through every iteration of the poppy.
Well, I've kept
And
in touch with Eleanor since then, and she raves about that.
the
And
picture,
yep,
yeah.
and I know you're going down to meet with the family this Friday.
Well, I actually met him a second time as well, so I was there that day. And again, I must make reference to Alan and Rachel in the office,
Yeah,
whose idea that was. It wasn't my idea. I can't take credit for that, but
yeah,
very fitting. That's actually a brilliant. It's actually from did Move? No, not Move. Which one is the Cookstown one? I think it is just Move. It's called Mid Ulster Veterans.
not aware of that.
I'm gonna be cut out in that one now. But yeah, it's called Move, Mid Ulster Veterans group, effectively based in
Okay.
Cookstown. But they actually make those,
Yeah,
and they're phenomenal. We bought a whole bunch of them in the office to give out special
very
occasions.
good.
But yeah, so a few weeks later then was VE80 celebrations,
Yeah,
and I was asked to go down to Kilkeel.
Kilkeel, that's right.
Schomburg Society
Yeah,
had putting on, and I was a guest, and then they invited Captain John. Phenomenal. It's on Facebook. They literally give him the mic at one stage and ask him to say a few words, and in a you say 100 years old, in this big booming voice,
yeah,
thanked
yeah,
everyone and talked about those who were fallen, didn't come home.
yeah,
It was just
yeah,
the whole place just went silent
yeah,
to have this 100-year-old man, Market Garden, 1944 in
yeah.
Holland. It was just
That
incredible.
that day, and when all his family and friends and all turned up, and we're like looking around thinking, this is really special. And 100-year-old veteran, and 100 years on the year that the Irish Guards are marking their 125th anniversary and laying up their colours in Belfast. He should be in attendance,
If it
hopefully on
works out, yeah,
the
yeah. And
7th
then,
of
as you say,
September.
I've got a podcast hopefully coming up with them,
Yep.
which is going to be. I mean, this role as a commissioner, before I took it on, you know some of the tasks you're going to have, but you'll understand when I say this. It's the diversity and the variety of things you have to do. So
Yeah.
in this very room, in regimental headquarters here, we presented medals to the family of a soldier who had lost his life through hidden wounds, and I'd never done that before. And to be involved in presenting those and see the mixture of emotion, but also the joy at receiving medals from their son. And then a few weeks later, I'm presenting John Goff with a picture frame who's reached 100.
Yeah.
That sort of emotional roller coaster is not something I was really expecting or prepared for.
The one thing that sort of sticks out with me, with regards Captain Goff, is Ricky McGaffin has maintained a close link with the family, and he visits regularly. And I think Ricky has done a fantastic job with maintaining that contact, and it's just nice. It's just it's just one of them nice gestures.
No, it is, and I remember that Saturday. I mean,
Yeah.
Captain John just sat there with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, the cat getting the cream was
Yeah.
just exactly how you would describe it.
That's right.
He just sat there with this grin of satisfaction, of understanding of the event, and as you say, a picture of the Irish
Yeah.
Wolfhound, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. I think it was a special moment in that room. It really was a special moment.
No, there's no
Yeah.
doubt. There's no doubt. So, listen, that's great. I want to just touch on one thing before we finish, and you mentioned into self-employment, and one thing that I'm interested in doing is making sure that those veterans who want to go into self-employment, and of course many go into employment, and that's fine, but I think with technology changing, and people being able to run businesses off a mobile phone and a laptop anywhere in the world, more and more veterans, I think, are open to starting their own businesses, getting involved in self-employed. Did you find that difficult, or could there be more help given to veterans who want to get into that space?
Well, I got no veteran support when I was starting off.
None at all.
Nothing. That could be something that could be explored, because if someone has an idea, don't think about it, just do it. Get your ducks lined up. Think about what it is exactly you want to do, and take advice off people, and do it. Just go for it.
Was there any challenges you had? Like, were you sort of business savvy? Did you know how to set up a limited company? Did you know about accounts? Did you know about marketing?
I hadn't a clue.
None of that.
No. And you're sort of wondering how you set your costing for everything, and what it is you're actually wanting to achieve. So you have to be decisive in what it is you're doing. So qualification's the first thing. Off-tech registered, gas safe registered, and then you've got your insurance, you've got your vehicle to put on the road, and you're thinking, right, well, this is all going to have to be paid for. So you need the customers. Like social media, before, when I was kind of starting up, wasn't really existent. Now it's out there. Use it. Go for it, and push yourself, and people will utilize you. Because, to be honest, there's not enough heating engineers in the country.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. So,
No,
that's grand. It's something that maybe we can talk about again, about running
Not a problem.
to do a day or something where we just start from scratch of how to a limited company versus a partnership versus sole trader, your marketing, your accounts, your business plan, just the real basics.
Yeah.
I think that would help veterans as they
Definitely.
step into that, because it's a bit of a lonely space when you're self-employed and you don't have money at the end of the month. You're having to work to hopefully pay bills.
Oh, wow.
That's an unusual space, So wrapping up then, how would you describe yourself in terms of your military career, and what you do now within the space of charities and association work? How would you?
It's something that I really enjoy. We recently lost a member of the association. Roy Hogg was 98 years of age, and it doesn't matter what age you are. We look after each other the same. And sadly, we lost Roy on Valentine's Day this year, and he was a great wee man. He was superb. For me, it's about helping those who maybe need help. It's about keeping everyone in touch. It's about organising events, and at the same time, it's for the member to come along and support those events. Sometimes you feel as if you're talking to an empty space, and then people start to get involved. Then you get the satisfaction out of it. And the satisfaction for me is that people actually get the chance to get out and enjoy themselves. One thing that happened for us during COVID, we couldn't have any meetings or any parades for like St. Patrick's Day. So I took this idea that we're going to come to you, and we were able to travel, got all the sprigs of shamrock together. We had about 6 teams, and every single member in Northern Ireland received their shamrock that day. We went as far as Enniskillen, Barnescourt to the Duke of Abercorn, Londonderry, Coleraine, Portrush, Bushmills, Larne, Newry, to John Goff. Everyone got the shamrock.
What a tradition we have with the shamrocks. And it's funny, we'll end on this. I think we talked about it before we started the podcast, about the misunderstanding and misperceptions around the shamrocks and where they came from. So just speak to that quickly, about where the tradition came from, but also what that means to Irish Guards, Royal Irish Regiment, etc.
It's a highlight of the calendar. It's for both the Royal Irish, any Irish regiment, you know, to have your, well, we used to have the shamrock presented by the Queen Mother on St. Patrick's Day, especially in Berlin, freezing cold in March, and the Queen Mother came along, and she just loved the Irish Guards, and that was special. And have that shamrock presented to you in that way was just class, you know. And then if we were on ceremonial duties on the 4th of August, which was her birthday, we were marching past Clarence's house, and they were playing Happy Birthday from the pipes and drums. So that would have been another date yesterday.
Yeah,
So,
yes,
there
yes.
you are.
No, listen, fantastic. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in. It's been a pleasure hearing your journey. Didn't realize our dates of service were so similar. That's a bit uncanny. But it's very interesting, and I love the fact that you're still contributing so much to the associations and obviously to the
Oh,
third sector charities. I'll maybe see you in September with a round of golf. I'll try
looking
not to
forward
play
to it.
too bad, and if you're behind me, it can be very slow. But
There's
such
one.
is life.
There's one thing to say in the Irish Guards, David. No matter what your length of service is, you're always a red ass, and I'm still a red ass.
Aye, for sure. Okay, no, here that's a great place to end. Well, look, just remains for me as the Veterans Commissioner on behalf of the office to thank you for your service. And again, thank you for coming in today. Really appreciate it, and a really good journey.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you very much.
Cheers.
Right.
Thank you.